Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we're going to be looking at the Tuesday, October 23rd election polls for the 2018 midterm elections. So as of today, Wednesday, October 24th, 2018, we are 13 days away from the midterm elections. It's very hard for me to comprehend an election that I've been covering since July of 2017 has finally come to an end and promptly lead into the 2020 presidential election, and who knows what goes on from there. So right now, looking at 2018, a lot of data we're seeing today, which is why I'm separating today and Wednesday, again, October 24th, because there's a lot of data on this map, this polling data we're seeing here, a lot of red on that map, but it comes down to these individual races. Right now, looking at a couple of these Senate races, thank God for another Florida Senate poll. It seems like they are finally catching up with all of the lack of polls that they've had. They've left months in terms of gaps between polls, and now they are starting to pick up the pace. One from Florida, one from Indiana, which is going to be very helpful looking at this map, two from Montana, one from Mississippi, and the Mississippi Senate special election runoff and the open primary, which does provide us with a little bit more insight as to how this election could end up come the end of 2018 if this does go into a runoff, which is obviously likely. Florida governor races, two polls from there as well. That's pretty good in terms of what we're analyzing here. Georgia governor race and Alaska governor race, which definitely is needed after the dropping out of the independent candidate who is the incumbent governor. I was going to make a separate video about that. I'm not so sure about you guys wanting that video. So if you actually made it this far into the video, which is about a minute 30 in, if you're listening right now, if you want to see that type of video, just comment it down below and I'll probably just make one anyway. And then looking at, we have California 48th, we have Virginia 2nd, Virginia 5th, two Montana at-large district polls. This is going to be very, very helpful. One Illinois 6th district race and one Georgia 6th district race. I am very surprised. Ooh, that's an interesting race. We're going to look at the 6th district for once since 2017. That is a race that I was heavily invested in. I was very, very surprised at the outcome. But I'm not going to tell you guys how I felt about the outcome, but I'll probably get into that later as soon as we get to the district itself. But a lot of data we're going to be analyzing today. So we're going to try to make this pretty quick. We have to go through a lot of data again, and then in a separate video, I need to reintroduce it and give you guys a lot more insight as to what's coming up. So Florida Senate race, Scott leads plus 1%. But looking at the numbers, we have 41% voters going for Nelson and 42% for going for Scott. So for some reason, every time Florida Atlantic University or university polls, they really show a number of undecided voters, and it does not give us an accurate gauge as to how this state is going to go. Sure, a candidate leads by 1%, which gives Nelson a plus 3.5 average. This poll is coming out based on what we're analyzing today in a separate video. But right now, if you just look at the data there, it was Scott plus 1. And then if we go down and actually go to all the polls ever taken, we can see Florida Atlantic University typically gives the 41-42. Again, we're seeing the exact same numbers as we're seeing right up here. Okay, Florida Atlantic University, again, 39-45. Okay, 40-44. We're not seeing a lot of consistent data in terms of how these voters are going to either candidate. I mean, a lot of them are flocking either way, and we know which way they're going. CNN, 50-45. Only 5% undecided voters. 52-46 with Quinnipiac, okay? That leaves 2% of undecided voters. Okay, some are a little bit lower, like Survey USA, which is 49-41, which is the lowest. But then we go to Florida Atlantic University, 41-42. St. Pete polls, 48-49. Gravis, 49-45. We're seeing a lot less undecided voters in these polls, which may not show that this poll may not be such an accurate indication as we might think. Indiana Senate race right now, Mike Braun leads plus 4%. This is the first time he's led in a poll in a while. Donnelly has consistently led except for the first poll ever taken. Donnelly led by plus 3% in the first poll taken in the three-way race, but then Braun led by plus 2%. In terms of the two-way race, I believe Braun led in the earliest poll by 1%, but didn't lead after that. Actually, I guess he did lead in the Fox News poll, but he led by 1% in the first poll in the two-way race. But since this is a three-way race, we're going to throw out that poll. Right now, looking at the data, Donnelly leads by plus 0.8%. So Fox News shows Donnelly leading by 2, then Gravis plus 4, then Survey USA plus 1, and now this Mason Strategies taken with Republican. And I believe that typically means it's in favor of the Republican Party, not necessarily skewed data drastically, but going into a little bit more deep. It wouldn't be valued the same as if it was a Gravis or Fox News or CNN poll, if you get what I'm saying. In terms of the data there, still, this is the first time Mike Braun has led in a while, so that's definitely something to point out, but it isn't like a make or break race. It is for the Senate in terms of the Senate composition, but I mean, this is not a make or break poll. This isn't drastically changing the way that we view this race. Two Montana Senate polls, Tester plus 3, Tester plus 9. Good news for the Democrats. They're probably going to win here. Okay, John Tester won in 2006, then 2012, and now he's going against Matt Rosendale. Not too known statewide. I mean, this is Montana, so in order to get known statewide, What do? Throw up a billboard? No, but in all seriousness, we have an incumbent who was able to beat an incumbent in 2006. Sure, Democratic wave year. But what is this year? Another Democratic wave year. So the argument still applies. He's leading by +9 and +3, averaging out to around +6. So I guess you could say that this race is probably going to go to the Democratic Party, but a little bit narrower than where it could have been if this was a different type of election year. Not if Hillary Clinton was president, but different factors affect different candidates. Mississippi Senate election right now, Wicker plus Barria. We have Wicker, a popular incumbent, is the incumbent going up for this election. This is his actual election. That one does not show any surprising data. +28 for a GOP candidate in Mississippi. Who cares, right? Going over to the Mississippi Senate special election, though, right now in the open primary, Hyde Smith, the incumbent who was appointed by the governor, is leading by +9%. In the runoff election, Hyde Smith leads by 14% against Mike Espy. But if we actually go into the I believe there actually might have been a different poll in terms of the Senate runoff that showed Espy leading against the Republican. But we'll get to that if it's in a separate video. But right now, Hyde Smith leads by +14%. So that one goes into the nearing safe column. Florida governor race, Ron DeSantis versus Andrew Gillum. Gillum leads by +4% in this Florida Atlantic University poll. But again, 41-37. Okay, I would throw that one out. I would count the Quinnipiac poll, showing Gillum leading by +6% because it's 52-46. The Florida Atlantic University poll is not showing that any of these voters have made up their minds truly. Okay, the Quinnipiac poll is showing that. If we go over to the, again, the Florida Senate poll, 41-42. Florida governor poll, 41-37. That's leaving a huge gap of undecided voters. In terms of the Quinnipiac poll and previous polls taken in the governor's races in the state of Florida, in the governor's race in the state of Florida, we're not seeing this type of undecided gap that we're seeing here. So 41-37. Okay, this right here, Quinnipiac +6. Survey USA +7, but it's 49-42, 54-42. So we're seeing a lot of data that helps Andrew Gillum in terms of lack of undecided voters and a number of voters already flocking to him, going over that 50% mark, meaning he doesn't need to gain any voters, even with those undecided voters. Who cares? But for the Florida governor race, according to this Florida Atlantic University poll, a lot more undecided voters than there probably are. Georgia governor race is now tied between Kemp and Abrams, but that does put Kemp ahead considering he has led in recent polls. But he's never led more than 2%, if you want to point that out. Literally any time any candidate led, it was by 2% or a tie, except for the first poll taken. Mason-Dixon, that showed Abrams leading by +3%. Then Survey USA poll, Kemp +2. Then Abrams +2. Then a tie. Then Kemp leads by +2. 3 more times, then a tie, and then Kemp +2 in a poll that we're going to analyze in a separate video. So overall average is Kemp +1.6. But it's very interesting to see that race be very consistent in terms of its results. This is going to be a race to watch. I think this is the first Democratic candidate that actually has a true shot at winning here. Usually it's expected the Democratic candidates cap off at 46-47% in states like Georgia. But we're going to see how close this race actually gets in 13 days from today. In the Alaska governor race right now, Mike Dunleavy leads by +4%. Now, the reason why his lead has narrowed down is because he's going against Mark Begich. If we go back to the three-way race, which I don't think we can see right now, it was Mike Dunleavy by +15, +22, +18. Okay, now we're seeing +7, +4. Okay, yes, there was a +14 poll taken earlier on, but now it has narrowed down. So this is a lean GOP seat. It has moved from likely GOP to lean GOP, which is still a pickup for the grand old party. I don't know why I said that. I've never said that in a video before. But overall, when we're looking at those numbers, they have narrowed down for the pure reason that this is now a two-way race. Mark Begich is not some type of Democratic candidate that just ran because no one else was running. Is a former senator. He's won statewide elections before. He knows how to compete in Republican wave years. We're going to see how he does in a Democratic wave year. With the unpopularity of an independent who was backed by the Democratic Party, I don't know how well that will resonate with Democratic voters or Republican voters in terms of voting for another Democratic candidate who could in quotes, be a repeat of this independent and have unpopular results. But who knows at this point. Going over to we've covered the governor's races, we've covered the Senate races. Now let's move over to the House races. 48th District from California. Right now, the Republican leads by +2%. Let's look at the rating. Toss-up. Okay, right now, Clinton won here by 1.7%. Drastic swing from Romney +11.7. A lot of conflicting data as well. Router +2, tie, Roy Robatcher +2. Two interesting names. I don't want to try pronouncing them again. So right now, the GOP candidate leads by +2%. GOP incumbent, might I add. So this race is definitely going to be a lot closer, and this incumbent is probably having trouble winning this re-election bid. Going over to the Virginia 2nd District, this is the New York Times poll. This is the one that I've watched before. I believe this is the Navy race, if I'm not mistaken, but Taylor leads by +3%. He is the incumbent, as you can see right here. led by plus 7% in a previous poll, so this race has narrowed down. Lean GOP district, Romney won here by plus 2%, and then Trump here by plus 3%. So very interesting, to say the least. Virginia 5th district race now going to the Democrat by plus 1%. Trump won here by 11.1%. So that is a drastic swing, and that is something to note. A lot of people are going to just throw it under the blanket term that Virginia is a Democratic state, but going to these individual districts, if Trump is winning here by double digits in presidential elections, and then all of a sudden it swings to the Democratic Party, here's something to watch. Like the West Virginia 3rd District, which went to Trump by 50%, that now has a great possibility of going towards the Democratic Party. 2 Montana at-large district polls, Gianforte, plus 8, plus 3, overall average of around plus 5.5%. Looking at that, Williams has not had that great of a shot, if I'm being completely honest. This race was a toss-up before. Going to the Real Clear Politics, probably not now. I think this race could narrowly go to Gianforte. And then Illinois 12th District, right now the Democratic candidate is behind by 9%. A toss-up right now, Obama won here by plus 1.6%. Trump won here by 14.6%. I believe this is the race that they characterize as traditional Democratic voters because of Obama, but we still have a couple more days to go. Now, Georgia 6th District race. This is the first congressional race that I've actually paid attention to. I didn't even pay attention to my own. Not even in 2016. I mean, I have Steny Hoyer, the second top Democrat in the House besides Nancy Pelosi. That's why I said second. But right now, looking at this district itself, Georgia 6, Karen Handel leading by plus 4%. Okay, that is pretty crazy. The fact that this race has now recontested itself definitely says something. Okay, this could end up biting Karen Handel on the back. Because I'm not going to say, never mind, different. Moving on. But right now, leading by plus 4%. If we go back to 2017, look at this race here. Right here, Handel won by 3.8%. So plus 4% is not too bad. The polls said that she would win by 0.2%. This was a very contested race. A lot of polling was done here for an individual House race. Okay, also led consistently, and then leading into the election, Karen Handel took the lead and then won. So if this isn't any accurate indication of what we saw in 2017, which it is, we likely could see the same results come 2018. But if it's a win for the Democrats, it's a win for the Democrats, and it's something that they technically could celebrate. So that wraps up today's video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.